This is Prifddinas, one of the most challenging areas in RuneScape to unlock. But behind the gates lies dangerous bosses and powerful weapons. For many players, it's the stepping stone that takes them out of the mid-game and into the late game. But for me, it's where my journey begins. This is Prifchunk, my extreme one-chunk Iron Man, and after completing all requirements at the lowest possible level, I am finally ready to give up all my worldly possessions and lock myself inside of Prifddinas until I complete every challenge it has to offer. I finally made it to Prif, and it's time to start chunking, which means I can now do things like this, and this. No, not animal cruelty, but gaining whatever experience I want. Until now, I have been avoiding all unnecessary experience, so I could get here with the lowest stats possible. And I think I did pretty well, getting here at 52 combat and 1026 total level. As far as I know, I'm the lowest total level to ever step inside of Prif. But there's a reason that I killed a chicken and a rabbit for XP. They are the only things here weaker than I am. But that all changes now. By the time I leave my first chunk, I'm going to be at the top of the food chain. And speaking of my chunk, let's have a look at the area that I'm locking myself to. It's not super impressive. There are only a few tiles to run around in. But as Prif isn't on the overworld, I had to use this chunk as a starting point so I can use the gates and give me access to the whole city in just one chunk. Now, let's have a look at my extreme one chunk checklist. Walking to starting chunk? Done. Usually, people do this step a lot faster. For step 2, most people just drop their inventory, but my bank is worth over 20 million, so it's going to be a little bit more of a spectacle. Trip number 1, and it looks like I PK'd someone doing a farm run. Dropping 200 prayer potions and 70 super restores on an Iron Man is maybe the hardest thing I've ever had to do in this game. For trip number 2, I thought I'd spread out the loot beams, and I'm a bit surprised that I could make so many, but it's been 3 months, so it's not really that much stuff. Leaving me with only random event gear left in the bank, and that's going too. All that's left is me and the baguette that you all insisted that I keep. So that leaves me with just one thing left to do: grind. I have 66 tasks to get done here, and not many of them are easy. I'm not going to go over them all now, but if you want to see them, they are all listed in the chunk picker linked in the description. Fair warning, it's going to contain spoilers. To make it all a bit easier to handle, I've separated them into long-term goals, medium-term goals, and what I want to focus on today, the short-term goals. The long intense grinds can wait. I want to know what there is to do in Prif and if it's even possible at this level. And then I want to get 71 smithing, make an adamant axe, so I can start to AFK woodcutting. So it's time to get started. I'm stood in the center of Prif in the Tower of Voices, where I can do my first and maybe most important task. By talking to, we'll call him Sev. I can change my respawn location to Prif by going through this dialogue, and yes, please. So, from now on, I will respawn in Prif. Not many chunkers get this kind of quality of life upgrade, and it's going to save me the embarrassment of respawning in a monotone lumbridge. Instead, I will respawn here in the Tower of Voices, and in a pinch, can be used tactically to restore my stats. With that done, it's time for the first stop in the tour of Prifddinas. To answer the question weighing on my mind, can I beat the Gauntlet? This boss is what Prif is most famous for, and it's known to many as the Red Prison because people will lock themselves here for hundreds of hours to get enough crystal seeds to make the bow fur and crystal armor, as it's good enough to beat almost every boss in the game. I have so many tasks here, from collection logs to most of my bisc gear. It's also my best moneymaker at up to 5.3 million GP per hour. So even if I get spooned on all the drops, I'll probably be back here to fund my grind to 99 construction. The Gauntlet has 2 difficulties, and you need to beat the normal version before you're allowed to try the harder, corrupted version. There is just so much more that I want to talk about here, but there'll be a full video on the Gauntlet in the future. So once I let this guy inflate my ego a little bit, I'm going to get stuck in and see if I can beat the normal version. I tried to find a minimum recommended combat level to take on the Gauntlet. The strategy guide on the wiki covers both versions and recommends 85 in each combat stat. It must be assuming that you want to do the corrupted Gauntlet, so that's way too high. I think most people would just assume that if you can beat Song of the Elves, you can beat the regular Gauntlet. So let's put that to the test. The Gauntlet has 2 phases, starting with the prep phase, I get 10 minutes to gather everything I need, and when that timer is up, I get thrown into the ring with the Hunlift for phase 2. The prep phase is what makes this so good for me, and Ironmen in general. You're not allowed to bring any items with you, and you have to make everything from scratch, so you never have to worry about what supplies you have in the bank. And for me, this is especially good, because the only thing I have is a baguette. I start off killing the rats and spiders in hopes to get a weapon frame, which will allow me to make a better weapon. You're guaranteed to get one after 3 kills, so I then head back to the starting room to make a staff. The staff is key to any low-level gauntlet runs, as unlike the bow and the halberd, its max hit is not based off your magic level. So even at 63 magic, a fully upgraded staff can hit a 39, where the others can only hit a 21 and a 14 at my current level. There are ways to really abuse this, but for my first attempts, I've not looked at any guides or done any practice. I'm just trying to remember what to do from when I did this grind on my Iron Man nearly a year ago. With my starter weapons sorted, I need to make some armor, and for the type that I want to make, I need to find 7 ore, 7 cloth, and 7 bark that you gather from these resource nodes that are randomly scattered throughout the gauntlet. And exclusively in the normal version of the gauntlet, you're guaranteed to find this if you run in a little circle around the boss room. Everything in here also requires crystal shards to make. I used 80 on the weapon, and I need another 300 to fully make the armor. So I don't quite have enough yet, so it's time to go boss hunting to find the rest. The 3 demi-bosses will appear at random in specific rooms around the gauntlet, and they each drop the item needed to fully upgrade the weapons. As I don't plan to use the melee weapon, I'm just going to ignore the bear and head straight over to the dark beast to get the bowstring to upgrade the bow, and then hunt down the dragon for the orb upgrade to the staff. I have now collected everything I need to make the armor and the weapons. I have less than 3 minutes left to fish up some food for the boss fight. This is maybe the most ridiculous place to get level 2 fishing. Then it's on to make some potions to restore prayer and cook up the fish. I did not know that you could burn these, but I expect most people have higher than 31 cooking when they come here. I have used the whole 10 minutes to do this prep, and I have everything except for a couple of fish. So it's a successful prep phase, if not a good one. I'm very rusty at this, and if I want to beat the corrupted gauntlet, I'll have to get much quicker. Time for the boss fight, and it's got quite a lot of things going on, so here is a quick rundown. You have to pray against its basic attack, starting with ranged, and swap between ranged and mage when it makes this noise. Don't stand on the orange floor, as it's lava. Move away from the tornadoes. Swap weapons after every 6 attacks, as the boss will change its prayers. And don't walk under the Hunlift, or it will stomp you. It doesn't sound too bad when I put it like that, but even if you do it all correctly, you still take damage through prayers. Because of the tier of armor that I've made, the maximum damage that I can take in one hit is 8, but the stomp and the tornadoes still really hurt. I am far from doing this perfectly, but the boss's health is steadily going down, and this version of the boss is pretty easy as long as you stay calm and don't make any huge mistakes. I even had plenty of supplies left at the end of the fight. It seems like I haven't forgotten how to do this, but it did take me almost 15 minutes to complete the run. The speedrun achievement wants you to do this in 4 minutes, so I still have plenty of room to improve. But overall, this was much easier than I expected. I thought it was going to be a lot closer with these stats. I guess I was right in saying that if you can get here, you can beat the gauntlet. Let's have a look at my first loot. Nothing too special, but I can sell them to the gem store for some good starting cash. And the fan club is still waiting for me. I can feel that ego growing, so I think it's time to get humbled by the corrupted gauntlet. Fundamentally, it's the same fight as the normal version, with a few tweaks here and there to make it harder. You get less time, everything has more health, more defense, does more damage, and there's one more tornado in the boss fight. The start to this is not too bad. A weapon frame from Mob 2, a good amount of resources in the starting area, but my pathing ended up being very bad, and it's really important to find the mini-bosses by checking the rooms they can be in while you search for materials. But like I said, I have not prepared, and I'm definitely making a lot of mistakes. I didn't manage to find the dragon in time, so my staff isn't max level, but it's still better than the halberd, and I only managed to catch 11 fish. For many people, this would be a winnable position, but with only 20 defense and 43 hit points, The boss whittled my supplies down when it was still over 600 health. And although I didn't make any big mistakes in this fight, it was far from optimal gameplay. I got the boss down to 623 before I died. I'm actually a lot more hopeful about beating the corrupted Gauntlet than I was at the start. This is not the time to optimize my CG strategy. Let's go look at my pity loot and check out what else Prif has to offer. And I could not have set that up better myself. An adamant pickaxe is just the thing I need where I'm going next. But before I move on to the next big activity in Prif, I want to see what the shops have to offer and sell these gems for some starting cash. To get the most money for them, I need to cut them, and there's a handy chisel spawn in this plate body shop, as well as a hammer that I'll take for later and an iron plate body, which I could pick up and sell if I find myself short on funds. The shop itself sells a lot of rune items, but as I plan on getting them from the Gauntlet, I will save my money for other things. The weapon shop next door has a really good selection of weapons, and I will be buying a rune scimitar when I can afford it. But unfortunately, I can't use the dragon dagger as I haven't completed the Lost City quest. For now, I may as well take the free steel scimitar just in case. While I'm looking at shops, there are a couple around that other Xtreme Onechunkers would kill to get their hands on. There's the staff shop here where I can buy any elemental stuff that I want, and then the rune shop where I can buy almost every rune in the game. The supply of nature runes is going to be particularly useful for high alchemy and superheat. Then there's a range shop that will sell me a used short bow as a decent weapon to start range training, and a selection of arrows if I need them. And a pickaxe shop where I'll upgrade my pickaxe as soon as I can afford it. Now, it's time to cut the gems and take them over to this market area here, with 4 stalls to steal from, including this gem stall, where I'm going to sell my cut gems for my starting money. And these stalls are the training methods that I'll use to get my thieving to my level 85 goal to pickpocket an elf. And my final stop for this shopping trip is next door in the food shop, where I could buy some cooked fish and stew. It's not the highest healing food, but it's cheap and easy to get, so it will suit me for most things I do here. It also has a few things that might help with the cooking grind. For example, everything I need to make pizzas. With the shopping done, I can step into the second boss in Prifddinas, Zalcano. It's a group skilling boss, and it's going to be much easier than the Gauntlet, but it does come with some pretty long grinds and has quite confusing drop rates. The pet comes in at 1 in 2250. The Zalcano shard drops at a rate between 1 in 750 and 1 in 1500, depending on contribution. And the crystal tool seed is where it gets quite confusing. But there's a tweet from Mod Ed that kind of clears it up. So, it drops at 1 in 200, and if 1 is dropped, a random player is picked to get it, with more contribution giving a higher chance. The MVP will have the best chance of getting 1 if it's dropped. The Onyx has the same mechanic, but a 1 in 8000 drop chance. So let's get out the chalkboard and work out just how rare this item is. According to the Wiki's money-making guide, an efficient player can expect 0.00041 uncut onyx an hour, making the expected time to get 1 onyx as 2,440 hours or 101 days. Additionally, as soon as I find any oak planks, I can get jewelry molds in my house, meaning that I have to make 2 bis items with the onyx, doubling the grind up to 5,000 hours. And these calculations are based on having the best equipment, which I do not have access to. So I'm calling this a certified meme grind. And this is going to be the one and only thing I'm backlogging. But who knows, maybe I'll get spooned. Sadly, I can't even do anything with these drops, as the Zalcano shard requires a dragon pickaxe to make a dragon pickaxe ornate, and the crystal tool seed will upgrade any dragon tool into their crystal counterpart, the closest of which is 13 chunks away. And the best part of Zalcano is definitely the regular drops. It has so many smithing supplies which will help me reach my goal of 99 smithing to make a rune plate body. I have hopped into the mass worlds for now to give it a go. The games are really quick since an update last year. What you have to do is mine some tephra from one of the rocks around the room. You can mine from any, but the glowing one has a much higher success rate. Then you take them over to the furnace to refine it, run across the room to imbue it at the altar. This altar will actually give me runecraft XP. I wasn't sure how this was going to work, as I haven't done rune mysteries, I don't have a runecraft goal, so it's just nice to get some along the way. And then, finally, you throw it at Zalcano to remove her shield. And once the shield goes down, you can mine her. When this health bar reaches 0, she dies. But if you don't get her down before she stands up, her shield will fully regenerate, and you'll have to repeat the process. The loot on the mass world is not good, but you get a lot of crystal shards per hour, and you get a lot of kills per hour, so it's good for hunting the pet. I was going to explain more during that fight, but the kills are just so quick on the mass worlds that I didn't have time. So you also have to not stand in the red circles, avoid rocks falling from the ceiling, and move away from the glowing rocks when Zalcano attacks it. Zalcano isn't really any harder for me than anyone else. I only have a few problems. If I get hit by one of the falling rocks, it deals huge damage. Most people can survive this, but at 43 hit points, I can't. So I have to give it my full attention. Also, the run energy situation isn't too good. This was before the run energy changes, so hopefully it will stop being an issue soon. But as I respawn really close, I can always die to restore my energy and run back very quickly. And finally, the damage you do with the Tephra scales off your smithing and runecrafting level, so my damage is going to be really bad for a long time until I can get a decent runecraft level. You may have also noticed that Zalcano is buggy as hell, and she will just disappear. I think it's just the mass worlds where the game can't handle the number of players. You also can't click her when she disappears, so if she disappears before you start mining, you can end up with no rewards, or worse, stepping under her and dying. The mass worlds are also so fast that if you have a few unlucky hits, you may not do enough damage to be eligible for rewards. I stuck it out in the mass worlds for a little bit, trying to get enough loot to afford a pickaxe upgrade, and getting the perfect Zalcano achievement along the way, which requires you to do 5 kills in a row without taking avoidable damage. Not too hard when each round lasts 30 seconds. As soon as I had enough rewards, I went and bought the rune pickaxe as not only a nice upgrade, but a chunk task to obtain my Bis pickaxe. Once I got the upgrade, I thought I would find out what solo Zalcano is like. And after around 10 minutes, I had managed to do about a fifth of her health, so I threw in the towel and found a small team to do Zalcano with. And this feels like the way to do Zalcano if you want it to be fun. She dies in 2 or 3 rotations depending on how many people you have, and the loot is much better, and the pace is a little bit slower than in masses, so you can have a little bit more AFK time and chat with the team as you go. I got my second combat achievement along the way as well, the Spurned Hero, for dealing the most damage, although I still didn't get the MVP, as the MVP gets some Infernal Ashes and a 3rd Crystal Shard. The loot in small teams is just so much better. 235 steel bars from this one kill, however that is still less than 10k smithing XP, and if I got that every kill, I would still need to do around 1500 kills to bank the 99 smithing I need. And most drops are worse than this. For now, I should have enough supplies to get to today's goal of 71 smithing. Prif has one of the best places in the game to smelt and smith items, with both a furnace and an anvil very close to the bank. I didn't really know what to make for now. I tested out making some javelin heads, as they could be a good way to speed up fletching, and I made some plate bodies for a little bit more cash. And that's 71 smithing done. I didn't get any adamant ore or bars from Zalcano, so it's time to venture into the Trahayim mine. Actually, a quick detour as I just butchered the pronunciation of that word, for what could be considered a Prifddinas fun fact. Most of the Elvish words are actually real Welsh words. Trahayim translates to very much like iron. Prifddinas just means capital city. And Iwerth is a common surname that translates to handsome lord. I'm pretty sure I pronounce all of these names wrong, so if you speak Welsh and want to help me say them properly, please get in contact. Back to the mines. This place has almost every ore in the game, and even has a deposit box, so you don't even have to leave to bank. My favourite part is this spot for power mining iron right next to the deposit box. My least favourite part is these clay rocks, as there was a bug in the chunk picker where it didn't recognise these as giving you clay. And clay means that I can make teak shelves in my player-owned house, and used them to get a pie dish, meaning that my cooking grind went from 80 to cook a shark to 95 to make a part summer pie, making my cooking grind 4 times longer than I expected. Anyway, for now, I just need to grab this adamant ore that seems to be taking forever to mine. There it is. And a few pieces of coal. And I can head back to the anvil and make my best axe until I can get to 86 smithing. With my new axe in hand, it's time to take a trip over to the Friendly Forester and pick up a forestry kit. There is a large variety of trees around Prif, so I should have a good choice of skilling methods to reach my goals. I need to get 75 woodcutting to cut a magic log, 75 fire making to burn a magic log, 87 fletching to make a magic shield, and I need quite a few items from the forestry log. Then, because of the sawmill alongside the estate agent, I'm going to need to get 99 construction for the construction cape. It's going to be a long and expensive grind. Shouldn't complain too much, as having access to mahogany trees next to a sawmill and the house portal here in Prif, this is probably the best setup a chunk man could ask for. Woodcutting is going to be my main AFK activity for a while. It's particularly good for doing on mobile, and between all of my chunk goals, I'm going to need tens, if not hundreds of thousands of logs. I'm going to get so much XP that the chunk task of 75 woodcutting is sort of ridiculous. And lastly, with my new wealth from smithing, I'm going to buy a rune scimitar and see what I can do in the Slayer Cave. There are only 2 monsters in here that I need to kill, as the others require Slayer levels, but neither of them are easy to kill. The first one is the Moss Giant. I need to kill these for a few collection logs, the Mossy Key, the Long Bone, the Curved Bone, and the Giant Champion Scroll, as I have over 32 quest points from Song of the Elves. But these aren't any normal Moss Giants. Their stats are basically double that of other Moss Giants, and they hit with both melee and magic, so my attempts to kill them with a rune scimitar don't seem to be working so well. As they were recently given a 50% elemental weakness to fire, and their magic level is only 1, I have around a 95% chance to hit them with fire spells, so that's at least one decent way of killing them. Onto the other monster in here that I need to kill, Water Fiends. I need to kill around 3,000 of these for a missed battle staff, and they are at least just regular Water Fiends. And I don't know about you, but on my other accounts I skip Water Fiend Slayer tasks, as they have really high defenses and attack with both mage and range, so you always take damage from them. They have low crush defense, but I don't have any good crush weapons, and they have 100% elemental weakness to earth spells, twice as much as the Moss Giants, and I still have less than 30% chance of hitting these things. And whatever I'm doing here with a rune scimitar is doing nothing at all. So maybe this is a job for when I have a Bofa, or at least a much higher magic level. And that's the highlights of what Prif has in store for me. I have not even tried to work out how long I think I'll be here. There are several grinds here that will be hundreds of hours, if not thousands. So I'm just going to do them one at a time, and it will take as long as it takes. In my first ever episode, I asked you to guess what level you thought I would be when I got here. So, well done Elemental Mods for your spot on guess. Sorry, there weren't any prizes, just bragging rights. For those of you that are still here, comment what level you think I'll be when I leave, and I'll try to think of some ridiculous prize this time around. And if you didn't see my journey here, check out this playlist for the prequel series. And finally, a huge shout out to my channel members, Sevilla Melody, DiggyDogSP, Onobo, Ryan Quarter, Titas, and Ivo the 2ST. It's still very surreal to me that I have channel members. And I'll see you all next time to take on the Corrupted Gauntlet at 52 Combat.